All right, welcome everybody to this month's customer webinar. Appreciate you guys being here in the middle of summer. I hope you're enjoying your summer like I am. Uh, but I know it's kind of a tough time to make these kind of webinars with everything that's going on with work and vacation and kids and stuff. So I really appreciate so many people coming to the webinar today. Today we're gonna talk about Mike is here with me, Mike Blumenthal. And we're going to talk about a number
Hello.
of things. Hey, Mike. And we're going to talk about a few things. First, before we jump into that, at the last webinar, we covered customer complaints, and we talked about that in detail based on a series of articles and research that Mike had put together. So Aaron and I covered that. We did a product update, talked about Zapier integrations. And this month, what we want to do is give you another product update, what's going on with some of the features we talked about and some new features. We've got a new logo and some new branding that I appreciate the kind words I know Paul and others have given us already. Thank you so much. It's always kind of when you change things, you're always kind of waiting to hear what people think, and so I appreciate the good words. Even for us internally, when you change things like colors and logos, it takes some time to get used to the new branding, but we're really excited about this. And then we're going to talk about we're going to talk about getting more online reviews. It's a question that we get a lot from our customers, and maybe you guys get it from your customers too if you're an agency. And if you're a small business owner, you're probably just wondering, how do I get more? And so we've accumulated a lot of best practices that we want to share with you, and then definitely do a Q&A. As usual, as we go through this, if you have questions along the way, just just go ahead and type them in the chat window. I'm sorry, in the questions or the chat window. But there's a sort of like a questions panel in your GoToWebinar control panel. And if you ask questions in there, Mike and I will be watching those and answering them as we go. But we'll leave a little time at the end as well, in case you had any last questions. So, first off, I wanted to start off with a little bit of a product update. Last month we talked about we had a lot of new product features coming out. We're kind of a lot of things going on, both in the pipeline and things that we're shipping. And I wanted to give an update on where we're at with that. So last time we talked about a number of features, but four of the main ones here. We talked about private and public responses to customers, to customer feedback. We talked about a new feature where you can show all the online review text for your major sites like Google and Yelp and Facebook, not just the rating, but the review text as well, right in the online review report. We talked about the number of online review clicks. So we're tracking, we've always been tracking, but we're now showing you in the dashboard how many people on that feedback thank you page are actually clicking through to the Google link or to the Facebook or to the Yelp. At least that way you can start to track and see how many people are clicking on these links, how many new online reviews are we getting on those sites, and I can start to narrow in on the impact of that. And then we also had a feature called the second email follow-up, which allows you to add an additional follow-up. The way the system works now is it sends the feedback request. 3 days later, it sends if they haven't left any feedback, it sends another one. And now we've added the ability to add another one after that, and to have total control over the timing of those emails. So where we're at, the private and public response stuff is in production. It's been out there for a while. I know many of you are using it. The online review text information is out there. We're adding some new sites like Avo and Zillow into that as well. So that's out in production. You can see that in your online review reports. The number of online review clicks is there. So all these are in production except for the last one. So the second email follow-up, that one caused, some just it was one of those things we wanted to do a lot of testing on, because what we didn't want to have happen, for example, is imagine if we turn this feature on and then we just didn't want any confusion around how it worked or any extra feedback requests to go out. So we wanted to test and make sure that it's turned off by default, so that extra feedback requests aren't going out that you didn't authorize. So that's taken longer. We were planning to have that done right after the webinar, but based on just testing and some other priorities, that feature is done and it's going to be released this week. So I just wanted to give you guys sort of like an update on that because I know many of you have asked about it, and so just wanted to share that with you. Keith is asking, can we customize the message in the follow-up emails? Yes, Keith, thanks for asking. That's something I forgot to mention, is that the other benefit of this is that you can have a different message, and that's something we recommend. So we added new uh, new content for those too. So you can have, the first feedback request goes out, that's a message. Now the second one goes out, and that can be a completely different subject line and message. And then the second reminder, when that can also be customized. And we changed our interface to make that look a little smoother in terms of how it looks, with the visual email editor, and you can see all of them right there, and you can modify those and customize. And we recommend that you do that because then your customer is not just getting the same email three times, right? They're getting a nice personalized follow-up. So that's the deal with the product update. There are a couple of new features that I wanted to talk about too that just went out. And let me show you those. Actually, I want to show you. So one of them the first one is the customer dashboard. So I wasn't happy with the way that we were doing the sorting before. You remember there was like this advanced search button and you would press it and things would, um, you could filter or sort based on certain things. And so we wanted to change that. We also wanted it to remember the sort setting. So even when you leave and come back, we wanted to remember that. And then also a lot of you asked for, hey, can you show more than 20 customers per page? And so we've got some pagination controls. And I want to show you what this looks like real quick. So let me just jump into a customer dashboard. I, I think you'll agree that the interface is a lot more cleaned up now than what it looked like before. So we've got a nice search box right here, and then the filter is right next to it. And now I can filter by a lot of different things, but by default are showing the entire customer list with the feedback on top, ordered by date. Um, but then I can also filter and say, just show me my promoters, right? Or just show me my passive that haven't rated me, you know, 9 or a 10, or just show me my detractors, so the people that aren't happy. So I can do these filters, and then, I had this open for a while, so I've got to refresh, like sort of like a stale window here. Um, Let me show you that again. So if I want to just show the promoters, I can just show passive. I can just show detractors. So it's easy for me to sort through and figure out, okay, who are my promoters and who weren't, which people are not happy. Incidentally, we've had a couple of requests already from people on these sorts, which we're going to be refining this as we go to to dial it in and make it even more valuable based on your feedback. We also have the ability to just show, the feedback requests that we've sent but haven't been answered. What about feedback requests that just haven't even been sent yet, or show me the whole list? And so I think you'll agree this is just a much cleaner, easier way to sort your customer list and see what feedback you have and what actions you have to take next. We've got a couple things we already want to add to it based on feedback. But ultimately, I think this is just going to be a nice, easier way to move through the list. Now, in addition to this, I can scroll down the bottom here, and by default it's showing 20, but I can change it and say I want to show 50 or even 100, and it allows me to totally control how many results are going to show up in a particular screen. And now that's something that Mike Blumenthal's been asking for a while because he does a lot of testing and things like that. So that hopefully gives you a lot more flexibility in the customer dashboard. I'd love to know what you guys think about it. I see Keith saying great. Heidi's
Quick
asking.
note on that, Don,
Yep.
that not only will allow me to do testing, that if for some reason any of the agencies or businesses want to resend to people who didn't respond, they can now select 100 at a time to resend. So it'll make that resend process to people who didn't answer the first time much, much quicker. Right? So if you want to go back and after a month or two hit the people that didn't respond, you can do 100 at a time. So it'll speed the third send up quite a bit. anyways. Are you there, Don? Yeah, I can't hear Don either.
Oh, I
Don,
had it
can
on
you?
mute there somehow. So thanks, Mike. Heidi was asking, is there a way to see if the customer opened the email that they've been sent? And what I was just explaining that no one could hear is, yes, that's something we're working on. The way we're going to handle that is, let's say I'm filtering here by feedback requests sent but not answered. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to go in here and then click on them and say, um, in the customer record will indicate whether they've opened the email or not. So that's something we're working on. Another thing we've been asked for is a filter that says, hey, show me the people that I haven't responded to yet. So now that we have private and public response, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. We want people have been asking for a filter that says, show me the feedback that I've received, but I haven't responded to yet. And so that'll be a nice list, I think, to be able to work through too. So, for example, if you've got someone assigned to, um, if you've got someone assigned to follow up on these requests, it'll be easy for them to see where they're at. By the way, you guys can hear me now, right? Like,
Yep. Yes,
good.
we can.
Okay, awesome. Guess I should have checked that. All right, so David is saying, I'm new to GetFiveStars, so sorry if this is redundant, no problem. We've sent out thousands of requests only with a good response rate and hundreds of comments, but not all of them not a lot of them give review. Would it be possible to add on the initial or even follow-up email the ability to simply copy their comment and click a link to paste it on the review page? I would think that that would be best in the follow-up email to avoid unwanted bad reviews. So David, let me make sure I'm understanding your question. So first of all, we're going to talk about that today, about reviews and feedback and how to get more of them. But I think your question is, on the follow-up email, could you give them a way to copy their comment and click a link to paste it into the review page? So yeah, here's the thing. We're looking at that in a couple of different ways. We do have a mode in our system where if you're getting like what a lot of customers do, if let's say they've got lots of feedback items but they want to focus on online reviews, we have the ask for ratings only feature, which you can use, which basically you go into your feedback settings and you say, I only want to ask for the ratings in the email, and I'm not asking for the testimonial anymore. So there's that. The other thing that we are working on adding is the ability to do what you're saying, where after I leave the feedback, then it puts it in my clipboard if I wanted to paste that content into the online review itself. We don't have it designed to include that in the email because you know, we don't know well, let me think about that one. That's an interesting idea. So I'll think about that, David. It's good. It's a good point. Thank you for checking that. Craig's asking, Mike, Don, can customers be invited to provide feedback over time? If so, is previous feedback overwritten? Tracking individual sentiment over time is valuable and provides more opportunities for customer engagement. Yeah, Craig, absolutely agree. It just so happens that we've had a lot of requests for that, and we're working on a feature right now. We're actively working on this that allows a customer to leave multiple feedback items. So, right now it's one feedback, and then if they leave it again, they can update that feedback. And we even have the ability to send a request to the customer to update the feedback. Let's say if you were working through an issue with them. But what we're adding right now is that ability to have, multiple feedback per customer, so multiple feedback items per customer. And as part of that feature, what we're also working on is to set a threshold. So for example, let's say you're a chiropractor's office and you've got somebody coming in every week, like 2 or 3 times a week. So what I might want to do as a chiropractor is say, look, I want more than one feedback for this customer, but I don't want to ask them every time. So I'm going to set the threshold at 30 days or 60 days or something like that. And I'm only going to ask them again after that period, right? So that way, if like a lot of our customers are using automation now, they're either using Zapier to automatically trigger feedback requests, or they're integrating with some other point of sale system. So those requests are coming in over and over again, and you don't have to worry about it. If you just set the threshold and say, hey, every 30 days I want to re-ask for feedback, because to Craig's point, if I have the type of business where I want to track that over time, then that's how it'll be handled. I can just kind of set the threshold. So yeah, Craig, definitely stay tuned for that. We're excited about that feature, and you make a very good point.
It's more
Paul,
of a transactional tracking of quality rather than reputational tracking of quality. So it'll change the functionality for some people that need it.
yep, yep. Paul is asking, my memory is that you were going to add a feature that would allow easy sharing of the initial feedback to Facebook. Is that in the works? Yeah, Paul, that is something we're working on. It's probably going to be like an August or September feature. It sounds like an easy thing, but what we're doing, we're trying to do it right. So we have to do, for example, every feedback item needs to be able to have its own page somewhere, because Facebook doesn't allow you just to share whatever you want. If you're sharing, it needs to be a link, and so that link needs to point to a page that's structured in a certain way. So we're working on that, and we want to do it in a way that makes it easy to share and um, is structured properly. So yeah, we're definitely working on that. Well, this is great, you guys. I appreciate all the good questions on these features. That's the new customer dashboard. Like I said, give us your suggestions on it. We're dialing this in to make it this is supposed to be a little command center where you can just quickly look through your customers, understand where they're at, find who your promoters are, find out who your detractors are, where are you at with the feedback requests. So that's pretty powerful. Another thing I wanted to mention briefly is that one of our goals in this whole product is to continue to just make the customer experience better, to make it so that you have to do less work, or your clients have to do less work. And so one of the things we did is, when you're adding a new business, we've integrated in this business finder now. So but in the past, you add a new business, you've got to type in the address, you've got to go get the URL for their Google reviews and stuff like that. Now we've just automated that whole thing. So as you start typing in the name of the business, we use the Google API, and we basically start returning results that you can just choose, and then we'll pre-fill all that information. So I'll just show you this real quick. Let's say that I'm on my business dashboard and I decide I wanted to add a new business, right? I'm adding a new business to my list. Click add, and here's the form. In the past, I would need to fill out the street address and the state and the city and zip code and all this stuff. Now I just start typing in, and it starts looking locally based on what all these local businesses. And then if as I continue to type, let's say it was none of these and it was something out of state, it starts broadening the scope of the search as I become more specific with the text. So anyway, the idea is that I capture that, and it fills everything in for me that it can find. And even then on the next screen of the wizard, it's like, okay, I already have your Google URL too. So now it just makes it just a lot easier for people to add businesses and do things like that. So that's the other feature. I just wanted to mention a couple of new things we're working on. That's all.
Just a note on that, Don, is that because of a limit of Google's API, that Google API only shows bricks and mortar, does not show service area businesses. So if you're dealing with service area businesses, you still have to enter those manually.
Yep. Thanks, Mike, for remembering that, or for bringing that up. So yeah, if your business isn't showing up in there, let's say it doesn't have an address, it's a service area business. I mean, Google doesn't return those, so you can still do it. You just have to enter that in manually. Paul had another question here. Another memory is that we'd able to tag customers with service and product or the service person. Is that going to be possible?
Go,
Yes,
Paul.
we're.
Go, Paul. Yeah, I need you to drill down more because that's a feature I wanted 6 months ago.
Yeah, Mike has been has been asking for that one too. So, Paul, you've got powerful allies in your
No,
request
no,
here.
I put him up to it, Don.
Oh,
I
okay.
emailed it.
You're you're chatting him
It is
privately.
coming. It
Ask
is
Don about
coming,
this.
Paul. We just it is coming, and it is pretty. It's very high on the priority list, and it just the development on these things takes longer than we think. So we'd hope to have it by now, but it'll be soon.
Yeah, we just have
So,
so
but
many.
you can keep poking. Next seminar, ask again.
Yeah, no doubt. It's on our roadmap. It's a committed item on our roadmap, Paul. So it's not just a we're thinking about it. It's like something we're planning to do. All right. And Paul says thanks for the auto fill feature for Google Update. That will be a big time saver. You most welcome, Paul. I'm glad we actually have a feature that is ready for you right now. Okay, Lindsay is saying when asking for Yelp reviews, can you edit where it says only post here if you have a very active Yelp account? Yeah, we get asked that a lot, Lindsay. I mean, the struggle with Yelp is, we're trying to we had a lot of people ask us for this because we're trying to set expectations that, a lot of those reviews on Yelp are going to be filtered. So if you start directing people to leave your reviews on Yelp and they're not active Yelpers, then all that effort's just going to go to waste because Yelp's just going to filter it out. That's why you can turn off that text altogether, though. There is an option in the system if you don't want that text. What Lindsay's talking about is the text on the by the review links for Google and Facebook and Yelp or whatever. So
I think the
you know,
question was whether she edit it.
yeah, you cannot edit it, but you can turn it off. So if that's a problem, you can go in and turn it off, and you do that right in it's in the feedback settings once I'm in the customer dashboard. Just jump over there real quick. I'll jump over there real quick and hope I remember exactly where that is. So it's under feedback settings. Scroll down, we got the visual editor here. So she's talking about on this page, I guess we have it turned off right now, so you're not seeing it. Show descriptive text next to it, it's right here. So basically, with it, you have the text here. Without it, you have no text. So that would be one option for you that you could do right away, Lindsay, if you wanted to, if that's really being an issue for you.
And Lindsay, if you have a better suggestion as to how to phrase it, send it along. We'd be glad to consider it.
For sure. With Google changes, the Google review link that is this tool that your tool provides, is it for mobile or desktop?
So can I answer that, Don?
Yep, please. That's why I was pausing.
It's for both. However, on iPhones, it currently is not delivering you as close as we would like. It's a attribute of the way that Safari handles links. It delivers you close on mobile and desktop or on all desktop systems, and on mobile on Android it gets you very close. On iPhone it currently only gets you to the knowledge panel. So right now it's, there is a way to get a little bit closer, and that's to go to Chrome and copy the write a review link. That's probably the closest, and there's no current way to generate that algorithmically. But we are exploring alternatives, and Google, has a new way to do it, which also has problems on the iPhone. So we are exploring it, but it's as close as we can get right now.
Yeah, so Lindsay, what I would add, I'm sorry, it was Arthur that asked that. Um, what I can tell you is that we're very much on top of this situation. Mike is all over it. And at one point, a few weeks ago, we had it completely working, and then Google changed it again. So this is one of those things that we're resolving ourselves to, understanding that Google's going to change it a lot, and we're just going to stay on top of it and give you guys the best solution that we can. That's what drove a lot of this new business finders. We started really playing more with the Google API and with the best ways to capture the business information and find the right URL to the reviews link for it. So, and our commitment is that we want a link that works both on desktop and mobile. So we're gonna continue to like get you guys as close as possible to that. So. All right, so that's it for features for now. We do have a lot of stuff in the pipeline, and next month I'll show you guys a little more of a product roadmap because we've got a lot of cool features coming this month, very exciting ones. And one of them that's imminent, which I don't have a screen to show you now, but is additional survey questions. So a lot of people have asked for the ability to add survey questions and things like that. So we'll show you that. Um, but the next thing I want to talk about is our new logo and brand. So we're really excited about this. Um, we just launched it this week, just yesterday, and we spent a lot of time putting this together, and I hope you like it. We're very excited. Our objectives here were, since our name has Get 5 Stars in it, we wanted to really make sure that we conveyed that that we're more than just reviews or more than just feedback even, right? It's like we really care about this customer experience, and so we're trying to have a mark that conveys that for us, that shows, hey, it's about communications with your customers and reviews, but it's that whole picture. um, so things like customer feedback and net promoter score and the customer experience and all the things that you guys probably have noticed we're talking about isn't just about getting another online review, which is great, but it's like, what can I do with this feedback and how can I leverage that and how can I make sure that we're providing the kind of experience that people want to leave reviews about. So that's what we're hoping to convey. We also wanted something a little more unique, right? A little of some of the colors and the branding that is more unique helps us to stand out. And then also our existing logo, we just couldn't use it in all the places and different formats that we wanted. It was hard to get just an icon or just the logo itself or separate the text from the logo mark. And so this logo is going to help us, like for example in the Zapier directory, like what did we put there? We didn't have a nice just an icon, and it was like the logo was really long and it was the whole word, the whole Get 5 Stars. And so anyway, we're excited this is going to provide us with a lot more flexibility there.
Don, I think you ought to put my picture in that space below the star in the
Right in
popular
here.
voice bubble. Yeah, yeah.
As soon as
Big
you
thing.
said that, I thought, oh man, I wish I would have, that would have been a funny little, little jab. Yep, I should. Yeah. So, if you want to see Mike's picture, though, you can watch our new video. The other thing that we launched this week along with it was our new sort of like, it's not as much of an explainer video, it's more of like why we do this. Because one of the things that Mike and Aaron and Thomas and me and the rest of the team uh, we're all really excited about is, or, I mean, we all just really care about. We wanted to share why are we doing this? Like we're trying to help businesses to succeed. And so this little video, that is a link to the blog post, which gives a little more of the description. Aaron put together a nice blog post about why we did our new logo and some of the things that we just talked about. We when we were at a team retreat recently, we did a video. We had a professional team come in and capture this video, and it's like a 2-minute video. So I urge you just to watch it. The blog post I'm going to put in the chat window here, just in case you want to check it out. I'm just going to drop it in right here, and would love to get your feedback on it. I mean, what we're trying to do is just give you guys a sense of like what our objectives are with the company. And one of the things you'll notice, we're not a big venture-backed startup. We're trying to do this all on our own, and we're trying to make personal connections and help businesses to succeed. So I would love to hear your feedback on the logo, the branding, the video, all that stuff. So please let us know. Oh, and one other thing, and I know Paul knows this already because he asked about it. We do have some pretty cool stickers that are being made right now. We're going to get them this week. If you're interested in stickers, um, whoops, here's the link. It's just getfivestars.com/sticker request. I don't know, maybe Mike, if you could type that in the chat window or something. I can't copy it without, clicking through the presentation. But if you're interested in some cool stickers, let us know. We'll send you some. All right, so on to the topic. Every time when we do our webinar, we like to do an update on the product and talk about what's going on with the company and stuff like that. But then we like to have a topic that is based on some of the best practices we've found. As you can imagine, we see a lot of companies doing feedback and reviews, right? Thousands of them. And so we're constantly trying to do is figure out like how do we take some of the data and turn it into learnings that can work for everybody. And also just some of the experiences of what's happening. So one of the questions we get asked all the time, and I'm sure if you're a business owner, this is top of mind for you. If you're an agency, you're getting this, your customers are asking you this question all the time. How do I get more reviews? I want more reviews on Yelp. I want more reviews on Google. I want more reviews on Facebook. How do I get them? And so just a couple of in-depth blog posts this week on that topic, and I'm going to pop over to that real quick. There's a part one and a part two, how to get more online reviews, part one, and we went through a number of different things here. Part two as well, we've got a whole bunch, and so Mike and I wanted just kind of a little discussion with you guys about some of the highlights from those blog posts in today, because I think these are topics that people have a lot of questions about, and we care about. So um, here's kind of the summary. Number one, a good friend of mine and mentor used to tell me this all the time. You need to ask in order to get. So you need to ask, right? And surprisingly, that seems like very basic advice, but a lot of people don't do it. A lot of businesses aren't doing it. They're not asking for reviews. Um, and so that's a big part of it is you need to have a process. You guys know this. You're using GetFiveStars, but there's some nuances to this that we'll talk about. Um, The other is just establishing the value of feedback and reviews with your customers and with your employees. So that's the other big part is making sure everyone on the team understands that. Also providing lots of entry points for people to leave you this feedback, and then as a business owner, responding to all feedback and reviews. So we're just going to take each of these and kind of talk about them a little bit in a little more detail. But again, I'm trying to kind of pull out some of the highlights from those articles that are on the blog this month about getting more reviews. So, I'll provide the links to those blog posts as well if you want to check those out. But so first, if you want more reviews, you really need to plant the seed, right? You need to make sure that people understand that you are a company that's focused on feedback and that you're going to ask for it. And I think this is something that for me didn't come naturally. So, making sure that you tell your customers, hey, we're going to be asking for your feedback, right? We're committed to providing a great experience. And so when, after we're done, we're going to ask you for feedback and we want you to let us know how we did. And when you make that ask, when they get the request, they're much more likely to leave that feedback. And it also works inside the company if that your employees know that feedback, that we're going to be asking for feedback, and that the whole company needs to be driven by feedback, then it sort of gets everyone's expectations on the right level.
May I bring a little bit of research into this, Don?
Yeah, this is
So
perfect.
I asked 5,000 consumers whether they had left a review, how frequently they'd left a review. 75% of them said they either never or very rarely left a review. So only 25% of the people were even willing to leave a review. Of the 75%, I then followed up with them and asked, what would motivate you to leave a review? There were two things that they answered. One was an incentive, right, which is illegal. Or it's illegal if you don't note that you've actually given them an incentive. The other was, they were very explicit about this, that if you personally asked them, that would motivate many of them, roughly a third of the people who didn't normally leave reviews, to leave reviews. So in addition to the email, which is somewhat impersonal, you need to, if you reach out to them early in this process and make a verbal alert to them that you're going to be asking them and ask them to please fill it out, you're going to get much higher, your funnel is going to have a lot more people at the top. And if it has more people at the top, you're going to have more people at the bottom. Go ahead.
Yep, that's great. I mean, it's just, that's a really good point, is that when we're doing these blog posts or we're talking about this, it's based on, a lot of research that we're doing, a lot of things that we're seeing, and that's what we're trying to share with you guys. So super important. Getting your team on board is part of that. So it's making sure
the guy on
that
the right's me, Don.
Absolutely. I don't know if you guys, how many of you are familiar with the A team, but basically that's these guys. And the point is just if all your team, all the way from the office manager to the person and people at the front desk to your employees, know that you're after this. And you see this at work, right? When you go see good businesses, you notice this. I mean, I do. Yeah, I know when a company has trained their people and they are all committed to that goal of delivering a great experience, and then you can tell when they're clueless and haven't even talked about it. And so that makes a huge difference in terms of how much feedback you're going to get.
An anecdote there. Alan Kaplan from Kaplan Insurance, what he does every week for his sales meeting, he prints out the customer spreadsheet for the week and both reads off the feedback that they got and notes the people who got good feedback in the comments at every sales meeting. He just prints the spreadsheet off, brings it into a sales meeting, and that's part of their regular weekly
Yeah, that's an amazing way to recognize people that are doing a great job, right?
Right.
I mean, it's brilliant. Yep. So the other thing to think about, and I always think this is a great exercise. Maybe, if you're a business owner, I'm sure you know what these are, but it's important to step back and think about them. But what are the touch points that your customers tend to see? And a book that got me thinking about this a lot a couple years ago is called The Referral Engine by John Janst. And in the book, he had an exercise, which I went through, that said, think about all of the different ways that your customer interacts with you. And this, all the way starting from the pre-sale process, like how do they find out about you? How do they first encounter you? Maybe it's, some of them on the website, some of them through a friend, some of them through an employee. What are the different ways that they encounter and touch your business? And then there's the sale, there's right after the sale, then there's the support afterward. And, what are those touch points? And then think about how you can make sure you're delivering a great experience at all those touch points. One of them that really was a little counterintuitive to me was support. So one of the things he said is one of the best times to ask for a referral or feedback is after a support incident, which seemed a little strange to me because somebody's calling in or emailing and saying they have a problem. But then if you fix the problem, that's a good time to ask. And I have found that to be true. People feel good because one of the things I have found about just having our own business for a while is that people want to be listened to and they want to feel like they matter. And just the act of delivering, of helping them out, even if they have a problem, it creates a lot of goodwill. And so that's a great time to ask. And so my point is, what are the touch points? So you always be thinking about what those are, making sure that you're not only delivering a great experience, but you're also asking. And this is back to the first point, is you need to ask for the feedback, for the referrals. And so good businesses have a process in place for that.
And for you agencies, I think that this is an area where you can value add our product by creating this kind of signage and cards and putting the shortened URLs on the cards so that you can help the businesses you're dealing with open multiple touch points and charge for it.
Exactly. And then multiple entry points, which kind of goes right along with that, is like, what are all the ways that people can leave feedback for the business? Ask proactively by email as soon as you can after the transaction. So GetFiveStars helps you automate that. Calls to action and feedback buttons on your website, in-store signage, like Mike just mentioned, a testimonials and review page on your website, feedback buttons if you're doing email marketing, And then there's the kiosk mode if that we have, or if there's some other, tool you're using, just use, maybe have an iPad or a tablet that people can hand to customers and get the feedback. Another one that's not mentioned on here is just integrating in with your existing systems. So into your point of sale system or into your CRM or whatever it is, integrating that feedback request into
And to
that is
answer
just,
Keith's question, will texting be a touch point? And the answer is yes. It's, again, another high priority. We have the mock-ups. We're moving forward on coding it, and you'll be seeing it in the near future. So,
yeah, great. I've been falling behind on the questions. I had marked one that Kayla asked. She asked earlier a little bit. Can the account owner see all the online review monitors to all businesses in one place? Um, right now, we have the online review monitor report, for a particular business location, and then you can, and then you can also do like an export from the business screen and get some online review information in there. But Kayla, I'd love to hear if you could follow up with an email or something and just let us know what it is that you'd like to see at that collective view, because that's something that is important to us, is you know, helping you manage lots of locations and kind of see what that picture looks like. So you can definitely see review information, right? You can see some in the business dashboard and the business export uh, at the from the business dashboard, but I want to make sure I understand exactly what you're hoping to see. All right, and then Heidi was asking about a link directly to the video. Yep, I can post a link to the video right directly into the chat window in just a minute. Keith Denning, I love it when a good plan comes together. So Keith is obviously familiar with the A-team. um, Mike answered about text. Yes, we're working on SMS. It's in progress right now. Very excited about that. Paul saying it's best if a doctor or lawyer or business owner mentions the desire for a review instead of a first mention from the desk person. By doing this, the doctor greases the skids for the yeah, absolutely. So, right, if it's a doctor's office and then the doctor makes that and says, hey, thanks for coming in today. Just want to let you know we're working on our online reviews. They're super important to our business. If you wouldn't mind taking 5 minutes to leave us a review, we're going to follow up with you later. If you'd respond to that, we'd really appreciate it. Definitely increases this response rate, or greases the skids, as Paul said. Absolutely. Yeah, so multiple entry points is kind of related to the touch points, but the point is make it easy. Make it easy for the feedback. I think that's
and when you look at the fact that only 50% open rate, right? When you're doing just email, your funnel gets closed fairly quickly.
yep.
Right.
So we can expand outside of that 50% by using signage or using an
handout card
kiosk.
or an
Yep.
iPad, right? Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the other thing is about responding to feedback and reviews, and this is an interesting thing that is kind of a nuanced answer. It's like, should we respond to everything? What is the right answer? And so we have two things we're talking about here, right? One is feedback, and the other are the online reviews. And so Mike did some interesting research around this that I was like him to share with you now about like some guidelines on how you should handle this.
Right. So when I research, I had the assumption that if it was just to say thank you, that you probably shouldn't. That at some point that becomes, both in the context of it becomes sort of glad handing, right? That if you say thank you, thank you, thank you, and particularly in a public place, it might have a tendency to appear gratuitous. But I realized that I am just one person, so I ended up doing a large scale public survey, and interestingly, 40% of the people that I surveyed replied that they felt that a response was appropriate, regardless of whether the review was positive or negative, right? So in a negative situation, obviously you want to respond publicly so that you can explain the situation to your future customers. In a positive one, it wasn't so clear to me, but customers regularly said, we took the time to leave the feedback, they should take the time to acknowledge it. Now, it doesn't mean that it should be always public acknowledgement. My attitude is, after I thought about it, was that if you can add nuance to the review, to the for the review so it's publicly visible, i.e. better explaining to other customers why this worked for this customer, then I think you should do so. Or if you can do it by calling out some personal relationship or some other nuance. But if it's just to say thank you, at some point I think those should be private. Google allows you to communicate privately. Yelp allows you to communicate privately. We allow you to communicate privately. But I think that as a matter of course, you should respond to every review and every feedback, publicly or privately. You should probably decide when a public response is appropriate. But I think that enough people, 40% said that they expected a response, that I think you should just build it into, bake it into your system. We've now baked it into ours, and I think that acknowledging, if you acknowledge all feedback that you get, I think that would probably fulfill your obligation to acknowledge the public review as well. So if they came, leave you feedback, and then left you a review, I think just by acknowledging that through our system, that's probably enough. So I think it can save you some time there.
Yeah, and I would add that 40% you're saying they expect through, some kind of response. I think that the other 60%, even if they don't expect it, it would still be nice, right? I mean, I think we were looking for a place to stay. We're going to take the kids to Universal Studios, and we're looking at a couple different places to stay, trying to find a reasonably priced hotel that was not going to be crummy, trying to find that right balance. And what swayed it for us was that we were down to like 3 different hotels, and one of them, we just noticed that in all their reviews, they responded. Like Mike said, wherever they could add context, they responded and they were interacting, and that's what kind of sold us on it. Is we were like, wow, they really are watching their online reviews. They care about what people are saying. They responded to positive and negative reviews. Some of them, where they could add value. One of them mentioned that it was kind of noisy. They could hear the freeway, and they acknowledged that and said, oh yeah, well, we've got some pretty quiet locations, but we are in LA, and we are there are roads nearby, and they did it in a really nice kind of classy way. But I mean, my point is, I think it's even more valuable than I think everyone appreciates being listened to and
It goes
responded
beyond
to.
just that customer. It goes on to, it
Yep,
speaks to all of your customers.
yep, exactly. Yep.
So did you take your earplugs?
It wasn't really a problem for us. It wasn't loud. I mean, it was, I
Not
think,
coming. So
I mean, I think some,
regardless.
yeah, yeah, yep. So anyway, it was a great place, by the way. We were really happy with where we stayed, so so it worked. So I think the other part of this, though, is responding is leveraging your testimonials. So you're taking the time to ask, you're responding to these. How do you leverage them? I want to just show a couple of examples of that, of how people are using our testimonials widget to get that content on their website, including the public responses. So if I pop over to here, there are a couple of different. I'm going to start first with an example. Here's one of our customers, Barbara Oliver, and what's interesting here is she's doing a lot of responding. Wherever she feels like she can add value to some feedback, she's taking the time to do a response. And keep in mind that this is all great user-generated content on her website that's being crawled by Google. It's formatted in rich snippets. It's just it's very powerful. So she's taking that time, and you can see this is a great social proof point for prospective customers. And she happens to have the kind of business where people like to leave reviews as a jewelry business. But anyway, it's a good example. Other customers are doing some pretty cool stuff where they're integrating it right in, like these guys did it like right as part of the design of the homepage. So they have a whole section on customers and the ability to leave feedback right from their website and to see this feedback. So that's a good example. Here's an example of this is the Growler guys, and they have lots of different locations. And what you can do is click through any one of their locations that they have. If you go to that location, they've got a really rich page full of all kinds of information and a map and the kinds of food and beers they have on tap there. And then they add their testimonials to this as well. So they've got a nice section, what people are saying. Again, this is great content that is marked up in rich snippets that they can use. And then they allow you to leave reviews right from here too. So very transparent about it.
And if you do a search on, say, Growler Guys Portland, you will see their locations are populated with review stars in the search results. So that's it's nice to see. If you go type Portland in, so Google
Oh
knows
yeah.
what cities you're.
Yep.
You can see it populates
Mm-hmm.
review stars.
Nice. Yep. So those are their testimonials page. Here's the rich snippets in action, right?
Yeah, it's particularly powerful on a multi-location situation like that. We've seen situations where large insurance companies are getting 10 times as many front page results from their domain as their competitors, 5 times as many,
Mm-hmm.
because they're using user-generated content.
Yep. So, related to this, wanted to talk a little bit about why feedback and reviews are so valuable, right? I mean, like we talked about earlier, a lot of business owners are just really focused on online reviews, which is they should be, but they don't think as much about the feedback. And one of the things that is interesting, if we're taking some average numbers here, this definitely depends on the industry, but if you send out 100 feedback requests, what we're seeing is you get about 15 pieces of feedback. Sometimes it's a lot more depending on the industry and the type of business it is. These are pretty conservative numbers. And then 1 to 2 online reviews. And so if you think about that, um, you're getting a lot of value out of that feedback because those are pieces of information, both positive and potentially negative, that you wouldn't have gotten before, right? What if you only got one online review? Or what if you didn't get any because you're in the type of business like a DUI attorney or a plastic surgery where people don't always want to leave a review at all. They don't want to identify themselves as maybe going there, so you don't get anything. And so I think it's important to think about the value of the feedback that you're getting, right? And some of those feedback items, what we have seen is that some simple misunderstanding occurred. The business is a good business. They're taking care of their customers, but something happened. They didn't know about it. That can turn into a negative review on Yelp. It can turn into a lost customer. But if you're asking for that feedback, that's where those show up, right? And that 15 right there are the feedback that I'm receiving, and I actually can do something about it before I lose that customer.
Right, and the ROI on catching that early is huge because my research indicates that almost 70% of the people who have a problem with your business won't say anything, and many of those just won't come back. So you've lost if you're not asking for feedback, you have some problems, and every business has some problems, then those people that experience problems they're just not going to not show up. So the long-term loss of that client is huge. So there's that. The other thing, Don, that I see is that review rates are dependent upon two factors in this funnel. One is the type of product that you're selling. There's a anthropological theory that people like to share publicly those things which indicate that they're in a higher class. So jewelry or food purchases are things that people are much more willing to share. But if you, like you said, if it's home insurance, it's a very boring thing. You're not likely to get as many reviews. But the other more critical factor that, besides having, increasing the number of people that you're putting at the top of the funnel by asking in multiple ways, the other critical factor is quality. What we see is 6x when we compare in research against people with a 90 NPS score versus people with a 60, we see 6x the number of reviews. We see higher open rates, we see higher click-throughs, but most importantly, we see significantly higher review rates when you have higher quality NPS scores. And people are just more willing to speak out on your behalf when you've exceeded their expectations. Really, is what it is.
Yep. Arthur's asking, do you suggest asking the client to share the review with Google or Yelp in the response, aside from the automated email that goes out to them? So Arthur, we do have that in our default follow-up email. So after someone leaves you feedback, there's a thank you email that goes out, and by default, it does ask them to share. So we ask them right after they leave the feedback on the follow-up page, and then we also ask in the email. So I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to, but please clarify if I'm missing, your question. But yes, we do suggest that. It's good to ask. And both, after they've left feedback, it's good to ask for that review, and that's where both on the landing page and in the email.
Can I
John is
answer John?
asking. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I was going to ask you to take that.
So John's asking, is it legal to have Google reviews on your website? I didn't think this was allowed. There has been some clarification of the copyright, and essentially the copyright of the review is owned by the original writer, not by Google. So the answer to that is technically you need to get copyright permission from the writer of the review. In practice, obviously that's near impossible, and so it has become sort of a common practice to include Google and Yelp reviews on your site. I mean, Yelp doesn't own them, Google doesn't own them, and so it is, well within the law for you to do so. And as a note there, that we are coming out with a feature that will allow you, like you can now share your testimonials that you get through GetFiveStars on your site, we will have a feature that allows you to share the other reviews that we've found for you on your site.
Yeah, exactly. And a good example of that. Let me find it real quick. Darn, it looks like I closed that one. Let me find it for you quickly here. There was a customer of ours that's using the testimonials widget, and you'll see that they have it here, and then next to it they're trying to show the reviews on Google and Facebook. And so what we're doing, as Mike suggested, is allowing you to mix those in with this testimonials widget if you want. It's optional, but you could add in your Google or your Facebook or your Yelp reviews into this. Greg is asking, as an agency, is there a better or cheaper way to demo the system for a prospect rather than setting up another paid business location for demo purposes only? Well, Greg, you could either, spin it up and then just close it down in your dashboard. It won't be charged for it if you just spin it up and shut it off, or delete it. If you don't want to do that, just let us know. Like one way to do it is you could create another account and then just let us know you're using it for demo purposes, and we'll work with you on that. We'll figure out a way to give you a free account.
Another way I do it is I have negotiated an arrangement with one of my clients, Barbara Oliver, where she gets a special deal on the product, and I'm not losing any money on it, but where she knows I'm going to use it for a real-time demo. And so I'm using what the benefit is that she's a very well liked, and so real websites, all of that is up and live on the website. But it does bring up an interesting idea, Don, that we perhaps create a demo account with a website that we might allow people to become
use
managers of. So
yep,
we'll give that some thought.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. All right, well, just to close out here on feedback and reviews, just the benefit of feedback, and we really have talked about this, but it's the user-generated content. It's the fact that this is feedback from actual real customers. The rich snippets, as you saw, the benefits there and how that can show up in the search results, and having that great social proof on your website. So the point here is that if you're a business owner focused on online reviews, don't forget about the value of the feedback as well. And if you're an agency, make sure your customers understand that there are a lot of ways that this feedback is helping them. So in addition to the online reviews. And then to summarize, those of you who know Mike will appreciate this, but to kind of summarize this whole thing, Mike says, how do you get more reviews? Number one, suck less. Number two, ask. I think that's a good summary. Like, provide a great experience and then make sure you're asking for them. All right, so yeah, the whole point today, we're kind of running out of time here. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and wrap it up. But it's about creating that great customer experience. That's really what we're here to try to help you with. And I appreciate you guys, all the great questions today and for the great suggestions too. I always enjoy these webinars and let us know what other things you want us to cover. We've got lots of topics, but we're always open to suggestions too. So thanks so much for
Thanks,
your time,
everybody.
and thanks, Mike, for joining me with this. And I hope you guys have a great time, great day, and then make sure to stay in touch. All right, take care.
So Don, I'm hoping that my quote makes it into one of those online great quotes of all time.
Yeah. We need to find out how to make that one viral, right? Get a nice image behind
You
it,
think I
and
have a shot at that?
all
All right.
right,
Have a great day. Yep, bye-bye.
see you guys.